Nelson, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. I think the word submission gets to be a really interesting conversation because oftentimes, um, when people are talking about submission, they conflate it with obedience. And I think that dynamic, when we start to talk about how it functions in a marriage and people's misunderstanding of what submission actually looks like, can alter the dynamic of not just a relationship, but especially a marriage. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, submission for some reason it means different things to different people. There's not one consensus on what submission is going to look like inside of anybody's relationship, but part of the problem is that we keep trying to make one cookie cutter definition for every family. So for in my case, submission for me might mean I make the important financial decisions. Um, if I make the judgment calls on what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and my wife has other types of roles that, and submission also carries respect with it too. So, don't challenge me in public, things like that. To other people, there's men that have been raised by single mothers, so their definition of submission, it might be that, well, it's actually for them it's a little bit harder. um, I need to think that one through, because submission for men that come from a lot of single mothers, actually, I've been seeing a lot of problems with that, is that they a lot of times have been wanting their wives or their partners to come in and actually function as the head of the house while allowing him to be the head of the house.
Yep.
That one's a little bit more funny. But overall, I think in terms of submission, I don't think that we should, again, it's an individual thing. That's what everybody should learn during counseling. What does it mean for you to respect your man? What does it mean for you to love and honor your wife? So, and hear it directly from each other's mouth, because we get that confused so much, where you think you're doing something to please the person that you're with, and you're like, I've respected you this much that I did this, this, and that. And when he could come back and say, well, I don't even care about any of that type of stuff. So are you doing the things that matter to him, that shows him that you respect him, and vice versa? Or as a man, are you doing the things to show your wife that you love your wife?
Nelson, I know this is may deter a little bit, but this comment is so triggering. It's single mothers ruin most everybody. And I know it's a black man that said it. What's up with these black men? What did their mothers do to them? What kind of black men were created to hate black women so much? Like, it's every little mistake we make, they're like so angry. Why are black men so angry at black women? Like, what kind of mothers were they raised by? What's going
I
on?
have a second part to that question. When did the switch happen of calling them fatherless homes to single mother homes? Like, when did that happen? Because there was a switch.
Wow.
That's a really great question. I actually don't know when that switch happened. But in terms of the anger towards single mothers, I don't think that I think there's an anger towards a perception of a specific type of single mother.
Okay.
So
what
I
is
think
that?
it has a lot to do with the way that they raise their kids, that the victim mentality of trying to milk every dollar out of the father, and downplaying him to the kids, talking bad about him, the sense of entitlement that comes with a lot of it, and a lot of it is sensationalized. We see a lot of it on TV and things like that. I don't think there are so many single parents out there that, like, I think most of us are just normal people. Like single mothers, they do the best that they can with what they got. There's some flaws inside some of the way that some of them think, in terms of how they accept men coming into their lives after they've already had a child. I think some of that is fundamentally flawed, because there's a lot of times when any man that's coming into the situation a woman automatically, a single mother a lot of times will be like, well, my kids come first. You know, you got to come in second place, things like that, and not understanding that a man coming into your life, a husband coming into your life, that takes first place, and both of you together, you know, nurture and bring up the kids. But I think towards the single mother part, I don't think there's a real anger. I think there's a certain type of single mother that we all hate.
You
We all
don't
hate the
think
ghetto
that that's
ratchet
not,
ones.
no, it's a certain type of anger, and they box all single mothers alike. They box them and think they apply one
We're all
situation.
government assistants,
We're
even though
all
I've
on
never even
government
seen government
assistance.
assistance.
You can't find the dad. We didn't met him on a one night stand and
We a
decided to keep the
pookie.
kid.
Are you talking about specifically in the red pill space?
Well, we're just talking
The
about
manosphere.
YouTube space, but
Manosphere.
Nas, that question. Oh my God, I love it.
because we're a matriarch. There it is. You play
And
when you're
that's
in
what
a
I was going to say. I
when
think
you're in a
the
matriarchy situation, you blame the person who's in charge, which is the woman. When you dealing from a patriarchy, you blame men. Black people blame women. Other people blame men.
And that's why our community is probably
but I'm thinking that the change probably occurred when the position or role of the man changed. So when you had more women that were going into the workforce and probably earning, you know, about the same as men or more than men, and the idea of having children out of wedlock became increased, that maybe that's when that shift began to change.
So
I don't know, I'm just guessing, but that is such a great question.
Because here's the thing, right, is like whenever that shift happened of switching from calling it fatherless homes to single mother homes, the blame game shifted from men to women, right? And like I hear you mistaken about, you know, women joining the workforce, but if we're truly transparent in this conversation, when was there a time that black women did not work in the US?
No,
right?
I said out earning.
Yeah, so out earning is a little bit different, but
Mhm.
then we also can factor in, you know, a lot of the societal factors, right? With mass incarceration, with, you know, the drug epidemic, the school to prison pipeline system affects boys more often than it does girls, right? So there are all of these factors that kind of add to it. But at some point there was a shift from fatherless homes, because I remember growing up that was what they were referred to as, right? And the blame was put on men, to now we are targeting the women and blaming women and saying that, you know, single motherhood is the problem. And so let me be clear. I don't think one party is more responsible than the other. It takes two people to make a child. It takes two people to make a family. There needs to be equal accountability as well as responsibility, right? But when we're talking about these single parent homes, the point of conversation shifted at some point. I can't remember when it was that it shifted, and now we've put complete responsibility on women, and almost as if, and I understand the legal part and child support and all of that stuff, but when we have this conversation, we move away from the responsibility of men and tell women, because you didn't keep your knees together, then this is entirely your fault.
I like that comment when whoever made the mention of like you blame whoever is in charge, and unfortunately we are in a matriarchy. Like when you look at the way that look at voting, more women, you know, more black women are voting than men. When you look at the earning, you know, now the earning, I'm not sure who's, you know, all the way on top, but women are earning a whole lot more. They're making a lot more decisions. Look at it in Hollywood. I just saw Wakanda Forever, and I'm going off in there looking like, how is there no black men inside this movie, and why are the ones that are in it weak? The women are cheering and loving it and throwing up the Wakanda side, and I'm like, nobody sees an issue with it.